Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel Biblical Chronicles. If you are new here, kindly subscribe the channel. Here's a compelling story based on your title, Gnosis, knowledge of the evil creator, Yaldabaoth. His soul trap. Elias woke up in darkness. A deep hum vibrated through the void. Where am I? He whispered. A voice answered. You are in the domain of Yaldabaoth. Elias shuddered. He had read of this being, the blind god, the deceiver. A faint glow flickered before him. A robed figure emerged. It had no face, only shifting shadows. Who are you? Elias asked. I am Sophia. I come to free you. Elias' mind raced. He had sought forbidden knowledge. Now he was trapped. Tell me the truth, he pleaded. Sophia nodded. This world is a prison. Yaldabaoth forged it. He feeds on your soul's energy. Elias clenched his fists. How do I escape? The Demiurge binds you with illusion. Break the chains of false belief. The void trembled. A monstrous form appeared. A lion-headed serpent. Yaldabaoth, you cannot leave. The creature growled. I am your god. Sophia raised her hand. A silver light erupted. Elias felt the weight lift from his mind. The lies shattered. The illusion dissolved. Stars replaced the darkness. He was free. The false creator. Elias awoke in utter darkness. The air was thick, almost suffocating. A deep, resonant hum vibrated around him, as if the void itself was alive. Panic gripped him. He had no memory of how he had arrived in this place. Was he dead, dreaming, or had he stumbled into something far worse? A faint, flickering glow emerged in the distance. It was dim, barely enough to outline his surroundings. He realized he was standing on what seemed like a vast, empty plain, though there was no sky, no stars, only an oppressive, endless blackness. Then, a voice echoed from the shadows. It was neither kind nor cruel, but it carried an authority that sent chills through his spine. You have awakened in the realm of your maker, it said. Elias turned sharply, searching for the source. Who are you? His voice was hoarse, uncertain. I am the architect of this world, the giver of life and the ruler of all within it. A monstrous shape emerged from the darkness. It was a vast, writhing entity with the body of a serpent and the head of a lion. Its glowing, hollow eyes filled with something ancient and terrible. Elias gasped. He knew this being from forbidden texts, from the whispers of those who had sought hidden knowledge. This was Yaldabaoth, the false god, the blind creator who believed himself to be the supreme being. The creature studied him, then spoke again. You were created to serve. There is no world beyond me. I am your only truth. Elias' heart pounded. He had been raised to believe in a benevolent God, but everything about this being was wrong, twisted, oppressive, domineering. He could feel its presence pressing down on him like chains tightening around his soul. No, Elias whispered, realization dawning upon him. You are not God. You are the deceiver. The air trembled with Yaldabaoth's rage. You are bound to me, whether you accept it or not. Elias clenched his fists. He could feel something stirring within him, a spark of rebellion, of knowing. The ancient texts had been right. This world was a prison, and its creator was no benevolent father, but a tyrant who fed on ignorance. He had to escape. But how? The guide to truth. A soft light flickered in the darkness. Elias turned toward it, his heart pounding. It was not like the oppressive glow of Yaldabaoth. It was gentle, silver, and warm. From the radiance, a figure emerged. She was cloaked in flowing white, her presence serene yet powerful. Her face was obscured, yet Elias felt an overwhelming sense of familiarity, as if he had always known her. Who are you? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I am Sophia, she said. I come to awaken you. Elias felt an unexplainable pull toward her. Her words resonated within him, stirring something long buried. Awaken me? From what? From the great deception, she replied. You are trapped within a world woven by lies. Yaldabaoth is not the true creator. He is the blind god, a false ruler who keeps souls imprisoned in his illusion. Elias' mind reeled. He had always felt that something was wrong with the world, its suffering, its cruelty, the endless cycle of life and death. Was it all part of a grand deception? Then what is the truth? he demanded. Sophia stepped closer. "The truth is that your soul is divine. You were not made to serve him. You were meant to be free. But Yaldabaoth and his archons have built this world as a cage. They cloud your mind with falsehoods, feeding on your ignorance, trapping you in endless rebirth." Elias felt his breath hitch. He had always been told that suffering was a test, that obedience led to salvation. But what if salvation was not found in submission, but in rebellion? "How do I escape?" he asked. Sophia raised her hand, and a shimmering light surrounded him. "You must reject the lie, see through the illusion. Yaldabaoth controls you by fear and false promises. But the power to break free is within you." A sudden tremor shook the void. A deep growl echoed from the abyss. Yaldabaoth had sensed the disturbance. "Hurry," Sophia urged. "Do not let him reclaim your mind. Remember, knowledge is the key. Gnosis will set you free." Elias felt the weight of her words sink into his soul. He was ready. The deception would not hold him any longer. The confrontation. The void trembled. A deep, guttural growl echoed through the darkness. The oppressive energy of Yaldabaoth surged forward like a tidal wave. Elias staggered, clutching his head as his thoughts became clouded, his doubts resurfacing. "You are mine," the voice of the false god boomed. "You cannot defy me." The monstrous figure emerged once more, its massive lion-like head shifting and twisting, its serpentine body coiling around the unseen fabric of this realm. Glowing, hollow eyes burned with fury, locking onto Elias. Sophia stood firm beside him, her silver light unwavering. "He is waking, Yaldabaoth," she declared. "You can no longer blind him." The entity hissed, its enormous form shifting like a living shadow. "You fill his mind with poison, Sophia. You seek to turn my creation against me." Elias felt the weight of Yaldabaoth's words pressing against him. Doubt crept into his heart. What if he was wrong? What if Sophia was deceiving him? The false god had ruled for Ansa. His power was undeniable. Sophia placed a hand on Elias' shoulder. "Do you feel that?" she asked. "The fear, the doubt?" "That is how he controls you." Elias took a deep breath. He closed his eyes, focusing on what he had learned. Yaldabaoth was not the true creator. The world was a prison. His soul was meant for more. When he opened his eyes, he met Yaldabaoth's gaze. "You are a liar." The void shook violently. Yaldabaoth roared, his form distorting. "I made you. I gave you life. Without me, you are nothing." Elias clenched his fists. Without me, you are nothing. You feed on my ignorance, my suffering. But I see through your lies now." Sophia's light grew brighter. Yaldabaoth recoiled, his form flickering. "No!" he shrieked. "I am your god." Elias took a step forward. "You are not my god. You are a parasite." The words struck like a blade. Yaldabaoth howled in agony, his body convulsed, unraveling like threads of darkness being torn apart. The illusion cracked, the walls of the prison crumbling. Light began to flood the void. It was not the harsh, artificial light of Yaldabaoth's world. It was pure, radiant truth. Elias felt it seep into his very being. Sophia's voice was calm. "You are free now." Yaldabaoth let out one last, anguished scream before his form shattered into nothingness. The chains of deception were broken. Elias closed his eyes, letting the warmth of truth fill him. The battle was over. The lie had been exposed. When he opened his eyes again, he saw the stars. The real world. The prison had fallen, and he was finally awake. The escape of brilliant light burst forth as Yaldabaoth's form crumbled, his illusion shattering like fragile glass. Elias stood in the void, feeling the weight of countless lifetimes lift from his soul. The darkness that had bound him was fading, replaced by something vast and unknown. Sophia stepped beside him, her radiance steady. "The prison is broken, but you must take the final step." Elias looked around. The world he had known was gone. The towering walls of false reality had collapsed, revealing a boundless expanse of stars and golden light. Yet, beneath it all, he could still feel the pull of Yaldabaoth's dying influence. A whisper, a desperate attempt to reclaim him. "Stay," the voice hissed. It was weaker now, no longer the booming decree of a false god but the feeble plea of a fading tyrant. "This is all you know. Beyond this, there is nothing. You will be lost." Elias hesitated. Was that true? If he stepped forward, if he left this illusion behind, what awaited him? The fear gnawed at him, an old fear, the same one that had kept him shackled for so long. Sophia reached for his hand. "You are not lost. You are returning home." A warmth spread through him, soothing the last remnants of doubt. He took a deep breath and looked ahead. Before him stretched a luminous path, woven from the very essence of truth. It shimmered, inviting him forward. Behind him, the remnants of Yaldabaoth's domain trembled. The false world was collapsing. Countless souls began to stir. Others like him, trapped for eternity, were now awakening. They, too, had lived under the lie. Some still clung to it, unwilling to face the unknown. Others, like Elias, had glimpsed the truth and longed for freedom. Elias turned back once more, seeing the fractured remnants of the false god. Yaldabaoth was no longer a terrifying force, just a shadow, a fading whisper of arrogance and fear. With one last breath, Elias stepped forward. The moment his foot touched the radiant path, a surge of energy rushed through him. The illusion shattered completely. He felt himself rising, ascending beyond the veil of falsehood, beyond the prison of flesh and suffering. Memories long buried resurfaced. He was not just Elias. He had lived before, countless times, trapped within Yaldabaoth's cycle. But now, he was free. Golden light engulfed him. The prison dissolved into nothingness. Sophia's voice echoed gently. "You have returned." Elias opened his eyes. For the first time, he saw the true reality of vast, endless, filled with divine brilliance. No more chains, no more lies. He was no longer a prisoner, he was awake. Conclusion. At the awakening, Elias stood bathed in the golden radiance of truth. No longer bound, no longer deceived. The prison of illusion had collapsed, and with it, the false god's dominion. Yaldabaoth, the blind tyrant, was nothing more than a fading echo, powerless against the light of knowledge. He gazed into the infinite expanse before him. It was vast, boundless, filled with stars that pulsed like living entities. He had escaped not just a world, but a cycle, a cruel design meant to keep souls trapped in ignorance. Sophia's voice, gentle yet firm, resonated within him. "Now you see, you were never meant to kneel, you were meant to rise." A great realization washed over him. The power had always been within. The key to freedom was not granted by an external force but discovered through the knowing of the Gnosis. He turned one last time, seeing the souls still trapped, still blind. Some stirred, sensing the shift. Others clung to the illusion, afraid to let go. Compassion filled his heart. He had been like them once, lost. But he had awakened. A choice lay before him: continue forward into the unknown or return as a guide, a light for those still in darkness. Elias smiled. The story was not over. He stepped forward, not away from the prison, but back into Ida this time, not as a prisoner, but as a liberator.